Code Afric. Unlock the future.
Hello and welcome back to this beautiful and awesome lesson. On our previous lesson, we were able to create this frequent asked question, which is looking awesome. All right, so now we are proceeding further to create this video section, okay? And we will embed a video in, and also it comes with a play button. When we hover it animates nicely. We're going to work on all this. All right, now let's commit our changes and push it so that we can have a fair mind to move on to today's section. So we come here, then let's give it a commit message. All right, frequently asked questions rendered successfully. Let's commit, then let's push it. Okay, we open our terminal, then we push it. Enter. All right, so now that our project has been pushed successfully, let's go ahead and build our video section. All right. All right, now let's begin with a comment. So I'll copy. I'll change the name to video markup start. Copy again, and I'll end it here. Now I'll create a section with a class. Okay. And I'll create a class of video area, and I'll give it an ID of videos. Now I'll create a div with a class, and I'll give it an ID. Now I'll create an ID. I'll create an ID and give it color overlay. Let me make it underscore color underscore overlay. Inside, I'll still create a class and I'll give it color overlay. Okay, when you check the naming convention, you can see that it's not the same. Okay, this one is underscore and this one is dash. Okay, all right. Now, before you proceed, make sure you not make this mistake. Okay, we're supposed to close it. Let me cut it here and close the closing div for the section. Let me close it here. Okay, if you make that mistake, it will worry you. Your code will not work properly. All right, now let's move on. I would like to create another div with a class, and I will name it video container. This is where I'll put all the content of the video, and I will need another div with a class. Now this time, let me give it an ID of play. I'll give it an ID of player like this, but this time I'll not open the div. All right, now I'll create another div with a class, and I'll name it video max. Anyway, so all the classes and the ID that I've created so far, it is not defined anywhere. Okay, so later we will step into the CSS and use it to style it. All right, let's move on. Now here I'll create another div. I'll create a div with a class container, and inside the container class I will create another class of row. And let's work with the grid system. Div with the class column MD12. So I'm covering all the 12 layouts. Now let's give it a predefined class in Bootstrap called test center to align all the contents at the center. All right, now I'll create a div with the class video max. And inside this is where I'm going to put the link of my video. Okay, so I will give it a href. And inside href, I'm going to copy the video from YouTube. Inside my YouTube channel, I'm copying the video for Get Udemy courses for free. I'm copying the link here and paste in here. Okay, so with this one, anyone who will click on the button, it will redirect the person. The video will play. Now I'll give it a class of play. As at now, if you save and check on the browser, we don't get anything. We don't have anything. Okay, I only have a button here, small button here. So what we have to do next is we have to use the CSS to style it and write more functionalities to that. All right, now let's step into our CSS and give our project a background image, something like this. And I'll also put more functionalities to it to get it working awesome. Okay. All right, so I'll come to the CSS at the very bottom. Let's start with the comment. Okay, so I'll copy this one and paste it and change the comment to video styles start. All right, I'll copy it again and paste it and change this one to ends. All right, so now I'll begin with, I'll reference this class, which is the video area. So this class, so dot video area, and inside, let's insert our background image. So we'll do background, then URL, dot. We are coming out from two folders, then we enter into our image folder, then we reference our img class, then our image name, I think it's video.jpg. All right, as at now, if you save it and check, when you check, we don't have anything because we don't give it a padding. So you have to give it a padding top and padding bottom. So I'll give it a padding top, let's say 180 pixels, and padding bottom of 180 pixels. And before anything, let's save it and check it. Okay, so we have our image appearing here, but it's not looking responsive. Now let's give it a background size of cover. Now let's check it again. Okay, so you can see that now the image has moved to the center. All right, now if you want to use the prefix, you can do likewise, because with the prefix it will make it work to other browsers. Okay, it will become compatible to other browsers. So if you want to do that, then you have to copy this one. You have to duplicate this one 3 more times. Okay, then change it to something like this. We change this one to the WebKit, then the Mozilla, then Opera Mini, and the Microsoft browser. Okay, so that it will function in all browsers like that. Now we give it an overflow, and you say hidden, and we give it a margin top 40 pixels. We give it a background attachment, then we say fixed. All right, so with the parallax, that is the background attachment. Okay, when you imply that one, it will make the image fixed. Okay, so that when you scroll, the image will be fixed at a particular section. It will not move. So let me scroll and show you. Okay, so you can see that opacity, everything is moving, but the background is fixed. Okay, that is the help of the background attachment. All right. All right, so now I would like us to work on this button, okay, the play button here. So to do that, I will come to the HTML and I will reference this class. This is the play class, okay, this one. Okay, so back to the CSS. Let me indent my code. Now inside my CSS here, I'll reference my play class, which is .play. And first and foremost, I'll call the background. I'll call the background image, the URL dot, then img play.button.png, and I will say no repeat, and I'll give it here 60% and 50%. All right, now let me give it a width of 110 pixels and a height of 110 pixels, and I'll give it a border. Let's give it a border radius of 50 pixels, and let's give it a display of inline block. Let's give it a margin top of 70 pixels, and let's give it a margin bottom of 40 pixels. All right, now let's take a look. And if you check, you can see that our image has been nicely spanned. Okay, and when you check, you can see that our image, the width and the height has been increased nicely. All right, now let's work on the play button section here. So I'll give it a box shadow, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, another 0 pixels. Then we give it RGBA. I'll do 0, 167, 221, then 0.5. All right, before anything, let's check. Okay, you can see that we have the symbol here, but the play button is not responding. We are not seeing the play button right now. So for here, I like to change this one. Okay, instead of the background image, I like to change it to background. Okay, then I'll give it a color. I'll give a hashtag. Then I'll give it which is color white. Now let's check it. Okay, awesome. Now you can see that we have it there. We have our play button here. Let's go ahead and write more functionalities to that. Now with the border shadow, I would like it to be compatible to all browsers. Okay, so I have inserted in with the Wikipedia and then Mozilla and the Opera. We can equally do that, or if you like, you can ignore it. Okay, now I'll give it a transition effect, say all 0.5 seconds. Then I'll give it easing. Okay, and again, I'm making it compatible to all browsers. So, all right, now we can go ahead and do same. Let's save it and check in our browser. I sat down when we hover, we don't have anything, and you know the reason, because we've not applied the hover effect yet. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do that. So we call the play class, then we give it the hover. All right, so now let's give it a box shadow, and this time let's make it 0 pixels, 0 pixels, and 15 pixels, and 20 pixels. Then let's give it RBG. Let's give it RGB alpha. Okay, so the RGB stand for red, green, and blue, and the A will stand for the opacity. Okay, now let's give it 0. For the red, we give it 0, and for the green, let's make it 80. For the blue, let's make it 111, and now let's give it an opacity of 0.5, something like this. Okay, all right, now if you prefer, you can work with the browser compatibility. I've inserted it for the WebKit and the Mozilla. And before anything, let's save it and check. Let's go over it and see. Okay, awesome. Now let's add some opacity to our background inside our video area. Okay, so here, so let me give it some gradients and opacity. All right, so I'll give it RGBA, and inside make this here 0, 0, 0, then 0.7, 0.8 will do. 0.8, and here too I'll give it RGBA 0.9. All right, now let's save it and check. Awesome. Okay. All right. So our transition also is working nicely. Let's compare to the original one. Okay. All right. So now let's reference the video container class and put some padding bottom and some padding top and add more functionalities. Okay. So when it comes to our HTML, we can see that we created a class video container. Okay. So we're going to reference this class. All right. So I'll come here. I'll call for video container. First, I'll give it a position. Then we say relative. Then padding bottom. I'll give it 54.25%. Sorry, percent. And padding top, I'll give it 30 pixels. And I'll give the height of 0. And I'll say overflow hidden. And I'll give it a margin top of negative 130 pixels. And I'll give it a display of none. All right. And before anything, let's check it. All right. All right, friends, we did it. Okay. Now let's compare it to the original one. Okay. All right, so it looks exactly the same. I think my opacity is too. I think is too dark. So let me make it 7 and make this one 7. Okay. Let me check it. Okay, something like this is not bad. You can see that the image now is visible. If you like, can play around it. Okay. I think let me make it 8. So something like this is okay. Anyway, if you didn't get this button here, don't worry, okay? It's not part of it, okay? It's a software that I have installed that gave me access to download all videos, okay? So, in your case, you not get this one, okay? If you see something like this here, please don't worry. In your case, you not get it, okay? I have it because I've installed a software that gave me access to download all videos. You can see that I have a download button here. It's the same thing showing here, okay? Any video that I set on my machine online, I can download it, okay, by clicking on that. So in your case, you don't have it. It's not part of the training. All right. Now, guys, we did it. Congratulations. You're able to build this section also. And when you click on it also, you can see that it will redirect us to YouTube channel where we can watch the video.
Code Afric. Unlock the future.
Okay, we can see
All right,
that
guys,
the video
welcome back
also
to
is
Code
working.
Afric. Indeed, we are on.
All right, let's go back. All right, so now everything is working perfectly. All right, now let's commit and push. Okay, so to commit, we are given a commit message. Video section rendered successfully. Then you commit. Okay, now after we commit, then we push it. Okay, get push origin main. Then we push it. Congratulations, guys! We're able to build this our video section successfully. Let's meet on the next one and learn more.
Code Afric. Unlock the future.
Hello and welcome back to this beautiful and awesome lesson. On our previous lesson, we were able to build this video section here and we embedded our video. When you click on it, it will redirect you to our YouTube channel to watch our videos. And also in this episode, we are going to build this blog post section here, which have a nice looking up, okay, with a hover effect here. And it also comes with a font awesome and with some icons also here. All right. And when hover over it, also it comes with an effect, hover effect. We are going to build all this with the help of Bootstrap and CSS3. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Now inside our HTML, let's begin with a comment. Okay, so block backup starts. We will copy and we will end it here. Block markups ends. Okay. Now let's begin with a section. Here I'll create a class with a name. I'll call it latest news. I'll call it latest news area. Then I'll create an ID and I'll call it latest. Okay. Now I'll create a div with a class container. And inside the container, I'll create a div with a class row. And again, Bootstrap is more of containers and rows. Okay. Now let's work with the grid system. I'll create a div with a class. I'll do column extra small XS and I'll give it 12. Again, I'll create a div with a class section title and I'll give it a predefined class of Bootstrap called test center. Now inside here, let's give it our first heading. And what is the name of the first heading? Okay, let's check. You see a recent block. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. All right, now I would like to make it bold. Sorry, B tag. Okay, then inside, then I call my recent blocks, okay, something like this. All right, now I'll create another class called subheading. This class has not been defined anywhere. We will later define them, and this is where I'm going to put my test in. Okay, I'm going to put this test. Let's copy it, paste, and let's indent it. All right, so I'll break it from here. I'll use the BL to break it. I use the subheading to style it, so there's no need of using the paragraph. If you like, you can use the p tag, okay? But me, I don't need it. Now, let's save it and check. Okay, we have it here. Awesome. All right, let's move on. So from here, I'd like to create a row, but let me break it first. Let me use the BL to break. Then here, I'll call a class of row. And inside this row, I'll create a div with a class, and I'll call it news. I'll call it news active. And inside, I'm going to work with my grade system. So I'll do column MD. When I am on a laptop screen size, I want it 4. When I am on tablet screen, I want it 6. And when I am on mobile phone screen size, which is SS, then it should cover the whole width, which is the 12. All right. All right. So now we have created a class which have not been defined yet as latest news wrap, and we have created another class as news img, which is the news image. Okay, we use this one to style our images. So inside here, I'm going to call my images. So with the source, then I'll call my img class 1.jpg. Okay. All right, let's make our image responsive. So we create a class img responsive. All right. Let me change my image name. I want a 1.jpg, not png. All right, before anything, let's save it and check in the browser. All right, we have our image aligned beautifully here. All right, so the next thing that you have to do, let's work on the date here, 31st December. Now let's go ahead and do that. So here I will create a class of dates. All right, so here I'll create a span, and inside here I'm putting the date, which is 31st. I think I have to duplicate it. So here will be December. Okay. All right, now let's check it. And we have it here. Okay. All right, now I'm creating another class, news content, and the news content will contain all the items, including the font icons. All right, now I'm calling the social icons from the font family. So I'll go for the class, then I'll call FA, then I'll say Facebook. I'll have to duplicate this one 4 more times. Okay. All right, then I'll change. I need Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and WhatsApp. All right, now let's save it and check. And we can see we have it here. All right, awesome. Now let's go ahead and create this one. Okay, the ratings here. I'll come here at the very bottom here. I'll create my p tag and I'll paste the ratings in. Let me indent it nicely. All right, now let's check. Okay, awesome. We have it here. All right, so here I'll put a BL tag here. Now we are creating this section, this button here, the read me. Okay, I'll say read more. All right, now let's check it. And you can see we have it here. We'll later use the CSS to style it and make it as a button. Okay, checking from the original, we have to duplicate this one 2 more times, 1 and 2 here. Okay, so we are going to copy and paste it and be very vigilant in doing that. Okay, so we want it from here, from this div. Okay, which is the column MD4, and this where it's close. Okay, so I will hold my shift, then come to that place, then I will carefully copy. All right, so I will paste it here, and okay, 1 more time like this. Now before anything, let's save it and check. Okay, let's check it. Awesome. All right, now let's change the images. Okay, let's change the images, and here will be 3. Okay, let's check. Okay, you can see that the images has changed. Awesome. Now the next thing to do is that we have to step into our CSS and start styling it. All right. Inside our CSS, let's begin with a comment. Block styles start. And let's end it here. Okay, so inside here, let's enter into the HTML and find a class to begin with. Now we begin with this very class, okay, which is the latest news area. So back to our CSS, we'll do dot. dot latest news area. Now let's give it a margin top of 40 pixels and let's check it. Okay, so it's not taking effect. Let's go and check what is wrong. I think it's from our HTML. It's latest news, not new. Okay, let's add the S. Now let's check it. Okay, we have our margin here. Okay, awesome. Let's move on. Let's enter into the HTML. Then let's locate the latest news wrap. Okay, now the latest news wrap is here. It's here. Okay, so we'll reference this class, then we give it a box shadow. Give it a box shadow. We give it RGBA and make it 000, then we make it .1. Okay, something like this. 000.1. All right, so as it stands now, if you save it and check, we will not get anything because we've not initialized the hover effects. We will do that. Okay, but before then, let's come to the HTML and let's locate the news image. Okay, it's here. The news image is here. So let's call that class and use it to style it also. Now I'll put before, okay, here. I think here it's supposed to be like this. Now let's give it a position of absolute, and let's give it left value of 0 and the top value of 0, and let's give it a width of 100%, and let's give it a height of 100%. All right, so I'll give it a background 000, something like black, and I'll give it opacity of 0. Let's give it a transform, and we will scale it to 0.8. And the transition effect, let me say all 0.5 seconds. Okay, so anytime you work with the before or the after, it always goes with the content. Okay, so make sure you remember that. Okay, so content, and with the content you leave it like that, content. Okay, something like this. And the class is news. Okay, news img, so S. Now as at now, if you save it and check, you will not get anything. Okay, because still we've not applied the hover effect, so nothing will work here. You'll get there. All right, now I'm going to use the pseudo class to call two classes at a time. Okay, I'm going to call the news rep class. I'm going to call the news image class. Okay, using the pseudo property, and I will apply the hover effect. So I'll call the latest news, then I'll give it a hover. Then I'll call the news img, then I'll give it a before. Okay, something like this. Now I'll give it opacity of 0.5. Okay, then I'll give it a transform, and I'll scale it to 1. All right, so now let's check it. All right, so as at now, when we check in our project, we still don't have much. Now let's work on the date. Okay, let's push it at the top like this, as we are seeing here. Okay, all right, and also give it a background color like this. All right, so back to our project. Now the date is here. We can reference the date from here. You can see that we have it here. Okay, so we are calling the date class. Inside our CSS, we do the date. Then I'll give it a background. Okay, so something like an orange color. Then I'll give it none there. I'll say repeat. I'll give it a scroll. I'll give it 0 and 0. All right, so now when you save it and check, you can see that we have the background color here. Let's move on. Now I'll give it a width, a left position, and just align and width and a height. Okay. All right, now let's save it and check. Okay, you can see that we have it here. It's not all that nice. Now we have to change the text in here and also work on the font size and the font weight. So I'll reference the span class, which is here. The span is here. So I'll call the date, then I'll call the span. So it will be dot date, then span. Now I'll give it a display of block. Then I'll give it a color of white. I'll give it a font weight of 700, and I'll give it a font size of 16 pixels. Okay, now let's save it and check. All right, awesome. We can see that it is looking nice here. All right, now let's go and work on the news content. Okay, that contains the font awesome icons. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now I'll come to my CSS class. So I'll do dots. Now inside here, let me first begin with a padding of 20 pixels. and I'll give it a margin left of 3 pixels. Now let's check it. Okay, you can see that it has shifted all the items at the middle here. Now let's go ahead and tackle the font awesome class. So when we come here, the news contents, then we give it I. Okay, so we will do news content I. Now inside here, we give it a font size of 18 pixels, and let's give it a display of inline block. All right. So now I want us to work on the icons here. Okay, the icons itself. So when it comes to the HTML, now we reference the news content, then we reference the font awesome class. Okay. So the code will be news content.fa. Now inside here, let me put some padding. Give 10 pixels, then I'll give another 10 pixels. Now let's check. Okay, awesome. You can see how it has expanded the icons here nicely for us. So now inside here, I will do cursor. Let's give it a cursor effect. I'll do cursor, then I'll give it pointer. So now the icons here, okay, we have to change its color individually. Okay, so we have to change the color. The Facebook must have a color like blue, and the Twitter also, and the LinkedIn must have a color. And also the YouTube also must have a color like red and cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we have to reference the class. So when we come to the HTML, we have to reference when we call the news contents, then the next one will be what FA Facebook. So I have to reference this one. Now let's go ahead and do that. So I'll do news content.fa -facebook, something like this. Let me give it a color, and with the color I'll go for hashtag 3B. All right, so we give it 3B5995. Okay, now let's check. You can see that Facebook color has changed. So let's work for the rest. All right, now so we duplicate the code and we change it to Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and WhatsApp. Okay, and change the color also. So go ahead and do that. All right, now let's save it and check. Awesome, awesome. You can see it's looking beautiful. All right, now let's work with the text. Okay, let's work on the text. Okay, so I'll come to the project, and to work on a text, we need the news content, then the paragraph. Okay, in this content and the P. All right, news content and the P. Let's give it a margin bottom of 15 pixels. Text, align, center, margin top, then 20 pixels. Now let's save it and check. Okay, now I want to reduce some of my text here. Okay, I want to reduce some. So I'll come to my HTML. All right, now I'll omit this. Let me clear off this. All right, so I will apply it to the rest. Okay. All right, now let's save it and check. Save it. Okay, something like this is cool. All right, this is not bad. Now let's go with the button here. Okay, and to do that, I'll come to the HTML and I'll reference the news content class, then the anchor link, the A. Okay, news content and A. Now let's give it a font size of 14 pixels, and let's give it a background color. I'll give it a background color of hash code 34495E. Okay. All right. Let's give it a padding of 10 pixels, 20. Let's change the color to white, the text color. All right. Now let's check. Okay. We have something like this. Okay. Now let's style it further to get something like this. Okay. When we go over it, it's going to give it a radius here. All right. Let's go ahead and work on that. Now I have to reference the news content class and also the A, then I'll give it a hover. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now I'll give it a font size. All right, now let's save it and check. Okay, let me give it a transition effect. Okay. Okay, so I'll give a transition effect. Now let's check it again. It seems there's some error in our code. So let's work on that. When hover, you can see how it is working. It's not nice. And here on this portion also, All right, so this portion also, the image before, okay, I've changed the content. I'll bring the content down like this. And the content too, there was an spelling error. Please correct that one, okay? And still, even the hover, this hover must work. So let's reference this class, the news img, and let's position it relative. Okay, let's give it a relative position. So I'll come here, somewhere here, and I'll do news img. Okay, let me give it position. Then I say absolute. Okay, something like this. Now let's check it. Okay, it's looking nice, but then there's some indentation error. All right, so this portion, just give it a position relative, okay? Just give it a position relative and save it and check through this portion if everything has been indented correctly, then you are good to go. Now let's check our project. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so our project is working fine, okay? When you check here, you can see everything is working fine. Let's compare it to the original. So this is the original. When you hover over it, you see the bottom two, you can see the radius also is working. Our own is here. All right, congratulations, guys. So we end here. Come on the next one. But before then, let's commit our project. Let's commit and push. So we give you a commit message. Right, so block session rendered successfully. Then you commit. Let's push it. Okay, so we do get push -u origin main. Enter. All right, congratulations, guys. We're able to build our block session here. All right, so let's meet on the next one and learn more. Thank you.